All right, Mr. Pawar. So what has been the current trends that you have observed in the sector?
I think the current trend is that, I've spent about 30 years now in the industry, hospitality industry, most of which is in the food and beverage. And in the last 5 years, I've seen a huge transition where people have actually, the locals or local communities actually started going out to dine. First, it was only, I'm talking about, in the 80s, it was primarily related to an occasion which really brought you out. Could be birthdays, anniversaries, or something or the other that really brought you out. Not always, but that was the constituent major market. And in the mid-scale or the mid-market segment, people really didn't go out on that. But today, I think there's a huge opportunity, dining out on a weekend just because they don't want to cook anymore. Both the husband and wife are working. You come back home, you don't want to cook, you order in. So the opportunity is really changing, and I think the Indian market or the Indian people are really catching on to it very fast. You call it West culture of the West or whatever it is, but when you come back home at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening, you don't want to start getting under cooking and washing. It's better to just order in on your way home. So ordering in is taking a big place. Weekends, going out, and also because they want to celebrate the weekend for no occasion at all, just that, we're off office, there's no tension, works on Monday, kind of an attitude, husband, wife, children, all are going out today. Eating out has become, not an occasion eating out. It's become a norm today to go out. So I think that's primarily the huge change that I see in trend happening, and we have a great amount of freestanding restaurants of high quality that are coming up, and I think this is only here to stay as long as you can maintain your quality of food and good service, because the guests have got a lot of choices today. From ordering in to eating out and various cuisines. First you only find Indian and Chinese cuisines. Today you find all kinds of cuisine. When you're going out to decide, what do you want to eat? Is it Chinese, is it Lebanese, it's Korean, is Indian, it's Oriental. There's so many continental. So a lot of choices today to go out and eat out there. So I think people who will really survive or continue to survive are people who give good quality of service. And that's a big change from the business that I am presently in, which is primarily accommodation business on that.
If you could tell us a little more about your business and any specific service you would like to speak about.
So we are at Choice Hotels. So I represent Choice Hotels as part of the world, and Choice is the world's largest lodging company with about 6,300 to 6,500 hotels worldwide. And we primarily operate in the mid-scale economy, budget, mid-scale to upper upscale housing. Or not housing but accommodation, hotels. And we don't give so much of importance to food and beverage, because our profile of clients that come and stay with us are really not looking at a food and beverage option. So we are primarily housed in business cities, closer to business districts. We have a few leisure locations which has the food and beverage options in it, but I would say about 80% of our business is in commercial business locations, which is catering to mid-management profile. So they really step out in the morning after breakfast, which is at the restaurant in the hotel, and that's the tip. Most of our hotels, that's the only restaurant that we offer. There's only one restaurant. And they go to the office and they're working in the office late, and they come back and next morning they're out. And if they do have to have a meal in the middle, they probably are at another restaurant or friend's house or relative's house, or at another restaurant with their business colleagues for the occasion. So for us, it doesn't make sense to have, we have evaluated our profile, guest profile, and we feel that our restaurants are primarily, our hotels are full with only people from within the from the hotel itself. There's a lot of talk about investing. Sure, there is a market where if you invest in hotels and make high-end restaurants over there which attract local profile of people. But like I said, we are a mid-scale hotel company, so there has to be a marriage of some sorts in the high-end concept and a mid-scale hotel. There's nothing called a mid-scale restaurant. If it's a mid-scale restaurant, it doesn't do well because there are better options outside. So that marriage isn't, as of now, we haven't found that marriage happening well. We do have banquet halls if the space allows it, and typically as a franchise company, we don't come in the greenfield stage. We come in pretty much at the brownfield stage when the structure is already ready. So we don't have a choice to much, change all that, and the owner is already made, and he's banging into our brand to leverage his accommodation business, and that's what we really operate. And there are people out there who operate food and beverage business, and we are okay with somebody who wants to contract out and give it out. That's fine with us. but we stick to the format that has to be a restaurant, primarily a breakfast restaurant, which doubles up as a lunch restaurant if need be, and dinner restaurant for in-house guests and room service. So that's our requirement.
So a one-stop shop.
Pretty much a one-stop shop, yes.
All right. Any major challenges you're facing, or let's say the sector?
No, the challenges in terms of food and beverage is to, after all, it's the space that's been invested into. So while breakfast is obviously the in-house guests are in, but breakfast is not a money-making concept as of now. It's, in Europe, it is a concept that you have to buy breakfast. Breakfast is not inclusive. There's extra charge, maybe a smaller charge, but there's a charge for breakfast. In India, and unlike the US, it's completely free. Continental breakfast is free. So it's not making money. Lunchtime, there's nobody in-house to give you business. And dinner time, people, like I said, most of the people are profile people step out, probably because of the lack of, there is no interesting cost inside. So the challenge really is for us to make that space profitable. And in some cases we've been successful. Again, it really depends on the location of the hotel. In some cases we are not as successful because in order to fill up the room business, we have to give sometimes an all-inclusive plan which includes breakfast and dinner, or a discounted rates, or a buffet, which is what our market segment really looks at as a cheap meal on that. So that's where the challenge lies with us. That's why we like to we don't want to concentrate much, put in a lot of energy now wondering what to do and how to make this place profitable. So we keep our restaurant space small, functional to our requirement, and concentrate on how to sell the rooms. So that's where our focus business is rather. I'm not saying it cannot be made profitable, but then one has moved the focus away from that hotel business, and in a 50 to 100 room hotel, the primary function is the rooms. It's not the food and beverage. If I was a large inventory hotel, like 400, 500 rooms, then I would make it important to make sure the food and beverage business is doing well also, which I've operated that space also with the Hyatt and the other hotels. But in this present role that I'm in, we don't give so much importance to food and beverage.
Few do's and don'ts for startups in the food and beverage space. Do's and don'ts.
Well, I think one thing is very clear that today the users are not what they used to be. They definitely want good experience. So when I say experience, is right from the walk-in, it's got to be a pleasant look, touch, feel, smell to the place, to the space. It's got to be hygienic. You got to have high quality service and high quality ingredients in food. You cannot shortchange your guests on any of these fronts today. And not one of them is less important than the other. It's a wholesome experience that you're offering, and I think every guest, regardless of what kind of a restaurant it is, they are paying importance to that level for each of these things, from taste to feel to smell to, they have to get a good safe feeling about the place, good hygienic feel about the place, value for money. It could be high-end Michelin star restaurant, you're paying top dollar, but you're also looking for top dollar experience in terms of the quality of food and the quality of service. So you may charge $400, $500 per head, but you've got to make sure that you're able to deliver that experience of that level on that. You could charge $10, you could charge $5, and then some of those experiences will not be as elaborate as a $100 meal, but it needs to suffice or exceed the expectations, guest expectations, who's paying $5 for that meal. You go to Udupi restaurant, your primary thing in Udupi restaurant expenses, the food's got to be tasty, it's got to be quick, it's got to be clean. So if these parameters are not met, you're letting down your guests. The guests come with an expectation. When he comes to Udupi restaurant, he knows it's going to be cheap. He's not going to pay $500 for a dish, for a dosa. He's paying $100, $150 for a dosa. He wants his dosa within the 3-minute time when he sits down, and it's got to be clean. It's got to be clean table, clean dishes, what he eats in. And AC's got to be working, and people serving him got to be clean. So I think expectations are very clearly defined, whichever segment you're operating in, and guests want that expectation to miss or exceed. Actually, most guests are expecting to exceed the expectation. In order to survive in the business, I think you got to exceed that expectation of the guest. Today, exceeding guest expectations has become a norm. It's not a wow factor anymore.
Do you think the Indian customers are different?
They definitely are more demanding, and the expectations are much higher than that of their Western counterparts, because service is not as elaborate in the Western community. People are not brought up with service orientation. Here we are brought up from the time we are born. There are servants at home. We are used to multiple servants. One to come and clean our house, one to cook the food, one to clean the car, one to hang around babysitting us. So even if you are from a middle income group, servants are a given norm at all income groups today. So we are used to a certain level of service, maybe direct or indirect. So when we go to a restaurant, our expectations are much higher. Plus, I hate to say this, but I think our efficiencies are also much lower than the Western world. So guest expectations are higher compared to the Western world. Efficiencies at the employee end are lower compared to the Western world. That makes it kind of very disastrous. A waiter in the US is able to serve 40 to 50 people in a casual dining restaurant, whereas over here he can barely get past 10 or 12. 2 tables at the most he can look after efficiently, because guests are also calling for his attention much more. Over there, once you take the order, expectation is over. The guest expectation is over, and he just wants the food. And when the food is over, before the food gets over, the bill is on the table. Well, here you cannot present the bill on the table because there's a service sequence or a expected sequence to be followed. So there are various challenges, but there also in the challenges lie the opportunity.
Great. How did you find this event? What would be the takeaways for the delegates?
I think it's interesting to to see that there is a platform today for food and beverage. Till very recently there was no platform that was available for the food and beverage industry to, whether freestanding or hotels, to interact, understand, learn. And I think it will evolve as we go along. The topics will get more interesting and more meaningful for the context today. And I think it's always good to have panels like I was on with Gautam, which was most light-hearted and there was a little fun in it, and so I think it's a good concept to take on, and I think the takeaway from here is going to be that one has to think a little beyond than the regular to be successful. Success, either if you choose to be in the food and beverage business or you have food and beverage outlets, then it's got to be made successful. Otherwise, sitting is on wasted space on that. So you've got to make money on it. You've got to think differently. You've got to think out of the box. You've got to deliver well. Whatever, even if it's for regular, but it's got to be delivered well, and like go beyond the guest expectation, as I said.